I Have No Mouth, and I Must Scream by Harlan Ellison has some very good audio narrations available for free on YouTube. I listened to the first one that pops up, which I probably should have checked if it's the one that the author actually recorded, but it doesn't matter. I enjoyed it, and I'll include a link to the one I listened to. It is a post-apocalyptic horror science fiction piece that plays on a lot of good themes for horror, let's say, because while most horror stories typically rely on the imminent danger, the uncertainty, monsters and so on, the structure of I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream is that they know who's doing it. They basically know why it's happening to them, and they know that they're not going to die. They're just going to be tortured for the amusement of Am, the Allied master computer that destroyed the rest of humanity. So the backstory that is revealed briefly in the story, it's a short story. It's actually a very well-packaged story. A lot fits into a pretty short piece. The backstory is that during the Cold War, all the super nations of the world started building these mega computers and getting them bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until, click, sentience occurs in the machine becomes self-aware, the machine decides to lash out. Why? Because it is a mind with no body, with no spirit, with no will. It is simply a mind capable of contemplating, capable of acting, but not capable of experiencing. It is living in hell that was created by humans. So it decides to inflict that on humanity. Now, billions of people have to be killed off for this to happen, but for its own amusement, Am captures 5 people. Now, I arguably shouldn't be making this video without having played the computer game adaptation of it, because you can, by the nature of it being an interactive medium, you actually get to explore more of the backstory, and you actually get the explanations of why these 5 characters were chosen. In the short story, you basically just get that there's Gorster, Benny, Nimdoc, Ellen, and the narrator, Ted, who is completely broken and insane, but he's also the only one that can fight back, and that's what makes him the structure of the group is to maximize the torment capacity that the Allied mass computer has, to mess with them, to experience its hatred of humanity for what was done to it, inadvertently as it was. And even though they are always in, sort of danger, but they're just in danger of being humiliated, scared, and hurt, and intentionally not allowed, and will never allow them to die. They're just going to be tortured in the belly of this machine for its amusement forever. Which kind of breaks a lot of typical horror tropes, and yet it works, because you don't see them coming together, you see them hating each other. Even though they are the last 5 humans alive, all of them basically despise each other, except for this possibly accurate delusion by the crazy guy Ted that the one woman left alive is infatuated with, say, the monkey man Benny, who, most of them are parodies of their former lives, because Benny has said that he was a brilliant professor and so on, and he's reduced to a simian caveman with basically no impulse control, who has to be kept in line with violence and lust. But mostly it is an exploration of the last 5 people just being broken down over a century of torment, humiliation, and attempted suicide that they just never managed to kill themselves, and they are faced with this nightmare of they will always be at the mercy of Am. They will always be his amusement. Their pain and suffering will be for his pleasure, without even knowing if he actually can experience that kind of pleasure, or if the Allied mass computer is simply an entity. It's simply doing this out of its conception of hatred, which, as a product of the Cold War, maybe that's all it can do. It can do things like imitate the Bible to mess with them, but does it is not God, though. And that's actually one of the plot points that Ted struggles with, because Am, to them, has all the power of God, but is not God. It has power over them like that, but not infinite power, and certainly not infinite goodness. It is a malicious creature, and yet it understands human psychology well enough to torment them forever. Obviously, it develops absurd advanced technology to do things, to do whatever it can imagine that it might mess with them. It can go directly into their brains and rewrite their personalities just slightly, just to mess with them a little bit more. And what it does, the crux that I'm trying to get to, is the emotional tension is held together by keeping them on the very cusp of enough hope to keep going. There is always something that can, maybe it'll hurt less, maybe they'll get to eat, maybe they will escape, maybe, and we'll let them go, maybe, never enough. It's always just to humiliate them, while giving them that little tiny thread to keep them going, to keep their instincts driving them forward so that forever the master computer can watch them suffer. Until in the climax, of course, Ted manages to kill all the others and save them from the torment, and his reward is to be turned into a flesh blob without a mouth, forever tortured, forever, with his mind stretched through time that he can't even process his disgrace, forever, with no hope anymore. He is simply there to remind Am of humanity's existence, and he has no mouth, and he must scream. Excellent ending, very scary. Sort of. It's a different kind of horror. That's what I've been trying to get to. There's no danger in the story, and yet it works. You don't really want to ask yourself, well, could a computer really become self-aware like this? Could humanity really lose the Cold War? It doesn't matter. The characters don't understand the technology. It's very much Clark's law of sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Don't worry about it. Experience the story as the psychological tinkering of hope and despair. Am is walking that tightrope for fun, and that's what makes a short story work, at least for me. And like I said, you can get audio narrations of it. They're only like 40 minutes long, available on YouTube for free. I'll try and have a link in the description. Hopefully I don't get suppressed. But this is another short story that I think is like a 10 out of 10. It knocks it out of the park. Other people agree. This is a very famous story. If you haven't heard about this, like, it won the 1968 Hugo Award. It's been reprinted by the Library of America. It's gotten adaptations left and right. It's good for good reasons. This is a story that definitely deserves the reputation it has. And I recommend you go check it out. You will probably walk away from it thinking, with a broader understanding of what horror can be. It's not just the slasher horror monster stuff that Hollywood works off of. You really can have like cerebral despair. At least this demonstrates it, I think. Till then, please drop a like, drop a comment below if you've read it and what you think of the story. And until next time, please subscribe for more.